What's up, everybody? Welcome to another awesome episode of Button Mashers.
After Dark.
Yeah, it's episode 5. We're recording really late. It's almost midnight, actually.
Yeah, because work schedules suck.
Yeah, work schedules were a little difficult. So if we go a bit short this episode, sorry about that. There's not much we could do. Schedules are sometimes tough to manage on a week-to-week basis.
It happens.
But Button Mashers is the podcast where we talk about video games and video game news. I'm Chris.
I'm Connor.
And we are ready to gush. So what's going to happen in today's show, we're going to talk about some news stories, some
Slightly interesting game releases. They're not interesting for, shall we say, buzz, so much as just they looked good when we looked at them, and some are kind of hilarious.
Yeah, and topic of the show today will be the Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy review, as I have beaten it. Not platinumed it yet, working on that, but I've beaten it.
And he let me play it for about 15 minutes, and it was fun.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that a bunch. I'm going to go very detailed on this one, so brace yourselves.
Much detail.
But before all that happens, what have you been playing, Connor, this week?
This week I've been playing, aside from Titanfall 2, as per the usual, which I'll touch on really quickly because the DLC is out for War Games, which has kind of changed things up a little bit. There's the new map, obviously, which is War Games, a throwback from the first game. And now they have introduced the fact that all pilots now have 3 weapon slots as opposed to 2 from before. So now all of a sudden you don't have to be as economic with what your secondary is going to be because you can have an anti-Titan weapon and a pistol. So it makes pilots more prepared for situations, but it means that you don't have to decide, okay, so what class would best suit me now? As opposed to, okay, so I can just grab any class and the only thing that matters is the selection of my primary weapon and perks because I'm always going to have the stuff that I need when I hit Y.
Okay, so it sounds to me like it's a class system that's more standard.
It has become, it's still Titanfall its own thing, but at the same time, it does feel a little bit, there's less of a drive to really choose. Because you literally do not have to choose anymore.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's really cool. Because I'm always a fan of trying to make the character my own. It's always sucks to be split between, I really like this guy's design, but it's not a class I'm into.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But the sniper guy, he doesn't look nearly as cool.
Looking at you Guild Wars 2.
Yeah. And Guild Wars 2 was really weird too because everybody was like a supermodel. But anyway, that's for another time, another day. Anything else?
I actually went with your suggestion from last week, and I picked up Fury.
It's such a good game.
It is the Dark Souls on adrenaline game. It is crazy. It's for those of you who have not played Fury and might have missed last week when Chris really described it. Fury is what's the best way to describe it? Top-down shooter action game.
It's not really top down. It's sort of like Dark Souls boss fights mashed together, but with the speed of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting it.
That's how I look at it. It's just boss fight after boss fight after boss fight. But the game, I really love the game mechanics of it. Everything works with each other so well. The cogs in the machine of that game are so well oiled. I'm very impressed with it.
And like Dark Souls, and Bloodborne, and everything from From Software has ever touched, there's just a moment where it clicks and you get it. Fury does that over and over and over again. It's crazy because all the bosses are so unique and so different and do their own thing so much that every couple of times when you're fighting a boss, because each one has stages, you have to re-get it. Again, it's like, okay, now this boss is doing this. Now the whole movement style has changed. Now their attacks have changed. Now they've gotten more powerful, and I have to recognize when those attacks are coming and when the choreography is. It's a moment of constantly just, okay, now I get it.
It forces you to reinvent yourself, because I remember
constantly.
There were some bosses that I could just, if I kept my distance and just shot him, it would be fine. But then the next boss was like, I have a big ass shield and bullets. Try that in amateur hour over there. And
that's why we have swords.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, now I have to actually focus on my parries and stuff. So it's really cool. I really love that game. If you haven't picked it up, please do so. Also,
Definitely pick it up.
Just
It's
really
great.
quickly gonna mention the mugs. Connor already has his, which is
Yeah.
a really dope mug for
The
you.
Witcher.
gonna-
Who doesn't love The Witcher? Seriously, who doesn't love The Witcher? Hey, look, it's got the little Witcher logo on the back.
I've been
It's
on the
awesome.
verge of buying a necklace of that symbol so many times on Amazon.
It's so pricey, but honestly,
I've
it's
just
worth it.
been like on the mouse, just ready to hit buy now.
Just give it to me.
multiple times,
Give
but
it
it's
to
always
me.
like it's a bit too expensive. You're gonna have to deal with my white mug for a bit because my Crash mug hasn't come into mail yet. I'm sorry.
And it's going to be awesome when it gets here.
It's gonna be really cool. I'm really excited. As far as what I've been playing, there's this little game on the PC called, and its name always escapes me, so I have to look. Banished.
Banished.
Banished is sort of like Sim City meets Minecraft.
So exactly your kind of game.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Because it's the one thing that never jived with me with SimCity is it was just a smidge too distant for me.
It's a smidge too silly?
You couldn't really design your city. You could only sort of like plan it, and it would sort
Yeah.
of build itself. And then the problem with Minecraft is Minecraft sort of
Doesn't have enough.
Minecraft is too detailed, where it's just like you building a house with blocks. I like this game because it sort of balances the
middle ground?
line really well, where it's
Yeah.
in like you place the buildings, you tell them where they build it, you assign jobs to your dwellers, you sort of maintain one village.
Awesome.
And it's really cool because it's all
Awesome,
about like
awesome.
survival. So like, if winter comes and you haven't stored enough food,
Winter is coming.
you'll start getting a bunch of crosses in your notifications. This guy died. This guy died. And the cool thing is, every time
Literally becomes Game of Thrones.
every time a person dies, that's one less worker. So now it's like, oh, well,
Well, shit.
my guys are gonna have to deal without fireplaces now because I'm gonna have to assign the guy who chops wood to fishing because we're gonna die.
You're going to need some food.
And that's really cool. And you have all these little cool things where it's like, I mean, a good game to compare it to is also RimWorld, which is
I don't think I've heard of that one.
RimWorld is more like your spaceship crashes and you have to manage a colony. But this game is even a little more distant than that. It's more like management of a town. And so I've been really having a lot of fun with that because you also like build roads to make your guys move faster. You have to build a storage house. You do trading stuff. And it also like, it looks great and it feels like a town. It doesn't have that Pokemon effect where you have like a neat little building and you walk in and it's a 5-story, like, skyscraper.
You go into this one-story house and it's like, oh, it's got 5 floors.
Yeah.
Here's like 3 basements and then there's the other 2 floors on top. It's just doesn't make any sense. It's a TARDIS.
Like here when you when you build a marketplace, it's like a big marketplace, and it feels really cool that it's actually on that scale. Anyway, that's Banished. It's really fun. It's on sale on Steam. I picked it up for like $5.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So it was really
awesome
fun.
deal. Love the summer sales.
The other game that I've been playing that I
no.
beat is Crash Bandicoot.
Yes, yes.
I beat all 3
Yes.
games of the Sane Trilogy. I even went back and played a little bit of the original Crash 2, just so that I could get a little bit of better comparison for the show. I'm working on platinuming all the games. I haven't gotten to that yet. I'm about 85% through Crash 2 right now. But we'll get to that when we get to the topic of the show. So that's what we've been playing. I skipped over our little housekeeping stuff. So this is a little segment where we do some updates. I wanted to thank the people who responded very well to last episode. It got quite some views, and some people
Thank
were
you,
like,
everyone who was here for the Alex Mauer episode. Now goodbye, because now you're bored.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, if you're new, you're welcome here, and thanks for checking us out and sticking with us. There was particularly one comment that was like, "Hey, I really enjoyed your show," so we always appreciate that. And the update on Alex Mauer is that apparently she is now getting help,
Which is fantastic.
So that's good news, and we hope this gets settled soon.
Good for
if
her.
if you want more
Good
updates,
for her family. Good for everyone who was facing these problems with through the YouTube copyright system. Still needs to work, still needs to be changed, and I'm glad that there's actual litigation because, yes, this was clearly a psychotic breakdown for her and a very troubling time, but we have to see that these consequences have actions.
Right.
I mean, these actions have consequences.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Shut up.
It's not easy to record yourself speak. All of a sudden, you notice all your speech patterns, and you're like, "Oh God, I sound like a Mongolite." Anyway, so Alex Mauer's getting help. That's good. If you want more updates, I highly recommend that you either check out Sid Alpha or Leonard French.
Yes,
they're talking about it excessively.
Leonard French is directly involved in the whole litigation now. He's representing Imago Softworks, which is the company that Alex Mauer had this whole grudge against and what led to this whole situation.
And you can also check out our last episode on that. Yeah. Anyway, before we get too wrapped up in that, let's move on to the news.
News stories.
I stole that from Kind of Funny. I'm sorry.
Please don't. No, it's good. Kind of Funny is awesome.
Yeah, they're great. Not that they need us to pimp them out.
No, they don't. No, they
anyway,
don't.
The first story comes to us from PC Gamer by Tom Sykes.
I think you can safely say that is Tom Sykes.
I hope so. The Bruma mod on Skyrim is now live. So you can get this mod, a couple modders banded together to recreate all of Cyrodiil in Skyrim, which is from the previous game whose name escapes me.
Oblivion. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
They're basically trying to redo the whole map, and the town of Cyrodiil is now available. It's just straight up at the border. You can walk into it, which is really cool.
Cyrodiil is not a town.
Or an
Cyrodiil
area.
is the whole region, is the entire map of Oblivion.
Right, but a part of the map is now available. I'm not exactly sure which region because I didn't play Oblivion. I just wanted to show this because we've been talking about mods in the past and how cool they are. So
I mean, this is a pretty impressive mod. You know, if this is what Bethesda's looking for in their creation club, and if they come through on some of the stuff they've said about it, then
it's 1.5 times the size of Dawnguard, which was Bethesda's actual DLC for Skyrim. So I'm really excited to see where these modders take it. So yeah, that's a story. Moving on.
Next story.
Yeah. And if we speed through some of these, it's because it's close to midnight. So sorry about that.
And we don't want to get tired for the podcast. It's entirely unprofessional.
Yeah. So there's an update on Vivendi and Ubisoft. If you are unaware about this, Vivendi is doing a stakeholder takeover. I'm not exactly sure if those are the right words.
That's a good way of putting it. Stakeholder hostile takeover is the way I would.
They're buying off Ubisoft shares, and under French law, once you own enough, you sort of can request to be part of like the voting board, and
you call the shots.
Yeah, you start to call the shots. And so they've been doing that aggressively to the point where some people speculated that this year Vivendi might actually take over. However, recently there's been a couple things. Ubisoft has been sort of making some moves trying to prove to its other shareholders that it has a lot of value. That's why they're announcing games that are far ahead. That's why they're really sort of pushing the Ubisoft brand, and its stock has been very high.
You know, if this is what led to such a strong press conference for Ubisoft at E3, then I say Vivendi, keep trying, because holy crap.
Yeah, they're pushing Ubisoft into their limit. And this also comes to us from US Gamer by Matt Kim. And the chief of Vivendi has been quoted by saying it's not Ubisoft or nothing for them. Because at this point, Ubisoft has pushed it enough that for Vivendi to actually take over would require roughly $6 billion for the remaining shares.
Nah.
Which
not worth it.
That's a tough
That's a
tough
lot of green. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And I don't even think Vivendi, even though they're a massive multimedia giant, can afford that kind of purchase.
No. No, don't do that, Vivendi.
So
but keep scaring them.
Yeah.
Keep scaring them so that we can get more good games. That's what we want. Please do that.
Yeah. However, careful. We don't want too many tech demos like Beyond Good and Evil 2.
True, but again, Beyond Good and Evil 2. Just as long as we know it exists, I'm happy.
I've always found that if a company is put into a position where they're like, all right, we gotta make sure that we're on top of this, only good comes out of it. So while I don't want Vivendi to take over, because that would probably turn Ubisoft into Activision, I think the pressure is making them better in an ironic way.
Honestly, yeah. It's an odd situation in that I want it to continue, but I also don't want it to continue because it has to end at some point.
Yeah.
And once it ends, it's just not quite as good or happy for people who play the games.
Well, at some point you want to relieve the pressure so Ubisoft won't burn out.
True.
Anyway, so that's the Vivendi update.
Coffee.
Moving on.
Next story.
We have the... Is this not loading?
No, it's having trouble. There we go.
Oh, Jesus.
Google.
So the next story is
Technical issues. We're
about
fixing it.
the PS Plus and Xbox Gold games. And I'd love to... I'd love to pull those up, but
tablet.
This tablet is giving us trouble. You know what? We're just gonna skip it.
Yep. PS Plus
and Xbox Gold games have been released for July. If you wouldn't like to know what they are, you can Google it.
Right. Sorry.
We
next week we'll bring in my tablet.
Yeah,
it's a little bit faster.
We don't want to waste too much time. I think it's because it's like trying.
You can probably find if you're looking for the full list of PS Plus games and Xbox Gold games for July. You can find them probably with Game Informer is one of the better sources,
right?
Or IGN or any of the big game news outlets.
Moving on to the next story. This is very exciting to me. Is the Steam Knuckles controller?
You told me about this on the way down. This is really cool.
So. Previously, controllers for virtual reality have been sort of like you grip them, kind of like Joy-Con a little bit, just bigger.
Yeah, and more comfortable and easier to use
and less painful.
Yes.
Yeah, but the Steam Knuckles controller, which is a dev kit right now. It sort of wraps around your hand, like right below your thumb. It kind of has a thing like the Wiimote did for your wrist, except it's like between your thumb and your four fingers.
Basically, it's a power glove?
Not really. It still has the shape of a traditional controller, but it has room for you to go from sort of like holding a stick to spreading your hand out completely. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You can attach the controller to your hand and you can let go of it. And it's really cool. It senses all your fingers individually and your thumb. And it has like an indentation so you can pull your thumb in. It's really cool. It's on the website if you guys want to check it out. I don't want to pull it up because then we'll just show it on the video and the audio listeners will be left in the dark. So it's just it's really cool because you can now do things like a thumbs up or a like metal rock and roll sign or flip someone off because the game can individually sense fingers. And this could be really cool because you could have like individual reactions, like you can now do you're playing Doom
in VR. Imagine Oculus GTA.
Or like say you're playing Doom and you flip off the bad guy and he gets pissed. Like that would be so cool, you know what I'm saying? Or it's also like a really great way, say in a multiplayer game, to communicate. You give somebody a thumbs up.
Oh yeah. I mean, how many games have tried that? I know that
it's really cool.
Oh, what's the big zombie one? It's not Left 4 Dead. On Steam, it's been in early access basically forever. It was an Arma 3 mod. Daisy.
I'm not sure. That sounds right.
It might be Daisy. But, a lot of these massively multiplayer games do have, like, emoticons for you to express the way that you want to interact with players. Whether it be, just a wave, or sometimes it's flipping people off, or any number of gestures in between.
Right.
Now, this feels more natural because you don't have to go into a menu and be like, okay, so I'm going to go there, and I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to do that one. Okay, good.
This is the best version of ARMS.
The best version of ARMS communication, yeah.
Yeah, like if Arms 2 ever comes out, do it with VR. Although Nintendo won't do that, but that would be awesome because now you have much more control.
No,
anyway,
watch it happen. You said it. Watch it happen next week.
I predict that. No, I would never do that. Anyway, so that's really cool, and this is the future of games.
Oh yeah, they've been heading in this direction for a while.
Wow, it'll be so cool because you can like differentiate between a fight mode and a fist, and like maybe non-combat mode with like straight hands. Anyway, I'm wasting too much time gushing over this because this is so cool, but I can't afford it.
All right, now final story.
Moving on to the last story. We might be getting a Spyro remaster.
Yes.
So here's the thing that happened.
Crash fan. I am a huge Spyro fan. I'm absolutely behind this.
Here's the thing that happened. And I'm sorry I don't have the source on this because I didn't put it on the breakdown. But there's multiple articles covering this. But and the iPad isn't working, so we'll have to just figure it out. In the Sane Trilogy remastered, there's a little code. So let me backtrack a little bit. When Crash 3 came out, you could input a little secret code in the main menu to play a demo of a Spyro game.
That's awesome.
Somebody tried to input that same code into the Sane Trilogy, and it deselects the menu. So it doesn't do anything.
It just deselects the menu.
But it deselects the menu, which is a thing that the programmers had to put in. Like, that's a line of code that you have to write.
Right.
Or a couple lines of code. Which means there's a possibility in the future that there is, a locked demo of a Spyro remaster in that game waiting to be unlocked by DLC or something.
I mean, I hope not. I hope you don't lock a demo for another upcoming remaster behind a paywall in another remaster game, no matter how good Crash might be.
Probably not a paywall. They're just probably waiting for an update for when the game gets released. They're like, and you have the demo already. Like, that would be really cool. That would be really nice. It would be like a lesser moment of Resident Evil. It was Resident Evil all along.
It was Umbrella all along.
Spyro all along. And I really enjoyed Spyro back in the day. Although I do think that a Spyro remaster is a much more difficult undertaking than a Crash remaster because and you can see the tiredness getting to us.
Perfectly awake.
Yes. But Spyro was much more open world. And with how far open world games have come, I feel like a Spyro remaster would have to reinvent itself much more.
Yeah, it would have to be in more than line of the new Shadow of the Colossus remake, where you have to just start from scratch.
It would have to be they'd have to make the places much more alive, much more not just much more detailed, but fill it with more characters, more people, more things to do.
I just had a vision of Spyro in a GTA game. Modders, make it happen.
I'm sure
you can now because Take-Two dropped the whole thing.
I'm sure that exists. Anyway, that was the last story. If a Spyro remaster is waiting for us,
I'm excited. I like Spyro so much. I love Spyro. It's
because that's cool. That's really cool.
Such a fun game series.
Alrighty, let's get to the topic of the show, which is the Sane Trilogy sort of review, I guess.
I mean, like I said, I played 10 minutes of it. It was fun. I had a good time. Graphics look really nice. Camera froze.
Did it really?
Yep. Technical difficulties.
Hold on a second.
Don't you love it when just technology dies on you?
Yeah, the battery in this camera really doesn't last as long as I was hoping it would.
And now I'm out of coffee.
So we're going to be talking about the Crash review. Connor played it for maybe 20 minutes. I have beaten it. But I think there's like a lot of stuff that you might have input on because it applies to across games and stuff. So I'm gonna,
as much as I can, I will.
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about three things generally: is graphics, gameplay, and then sort of like the general feel, combining those two together and how it really holds up to the originals.
I cannot help you with that at all.
So Crash Bandicoot, the original games were some of my favorite games of all time. I absolutely love them. Crash Bandicoot 2 especially was my first PlayStation game. It was the first game that showed me what video games could do. So this was a quintessential remaster for me. It was like
the pinnacle.
I was counting down the days. which made it very, very, very difficult for me to judge this game. So to explain it, there's a rhythm to the original games that I had gotten used to. Because I used to bust out this game every couple months, the old games, from 20 years ago. So I think if you play this game and you haven't played Crash in years or ever, I think you'll be in a much better place.
Oh yeah,
because you'll be learning from a new place. Whereas for me, this new game has a different rhythm, and it's not a bad rhythm at all. It's a great game. I absolutely love it at this point. But I had to fight myself for a long time with it, for almost half of it, because I was so used to the old stiffer controls that I sort of couldn't get into it. It's sort of like, in the old Mega Man 2 games, the NES would slow down when too many particles were on screen.
Yes.
So in the newer versions of the Mega Man Legacy Collection, they kept that slowdown in because players were using that for their advantage. And it's the same thing here, where I would be able to tell exactly where the collision box of an enemy would end, or I would be able to cheese it through by making Crash catch on like the last little polygon of a platform and not fall down. But now that it's all smooth and modern, it sort of threw me off. There were things I couldn't do, and the jumps are much, much tighter. There's much more precision with the analog stick.
Now, remember, you told me, and I think you've mentioned it on the show too, you played through, at the very least, the original Crash 2 before you went out and picked up the Insane Trilogy.
So, I wanted to rebeat. I wanted to play some Crash 2 and some Crash 3, the originals, before picking this up. So I was playing it days before the new one came out. So that also probably added to my
that
frustrations.
Probably is the biggest thing that threw you was
Yes.
you settled into that rhythm, and now you have to adjust a completely new one.
Yep.
Whereas, as you said, people who hadn't played this game in years or who are picking this game up for the first time don't have to unlearn anything before they learn stuff.
And I knew that it's not just me when after beating the Insane Trilogy, I went back to the original Crash 2 just to finish a level, just to see if the new game made me now bad at the old game, and it didn't. The old game still felt really good. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I want to talk about the graphics a lot, because a lot of the games are generally much brighter, all three of them, in the Insane Trilogy, which is great for the most part, but it sucks for the darker levels because you can see a lot more, which is frustrating, except for the levels that are like, there's a couple levels that use a sort of, I guess I'll call it a flashlight mechanic, where you pick up a little like firefly, and then for a limited amount of time it will glow and follow you, and you can see the level. But if you take too long, it will fly away, and you're left in the dark, and you'll die because you can't see anything.
Can't see shit.
So
see.
Absolutely. So the dark areas there are great, but there's specifically a level in the first game that's supposed to be like your first encounter with the bad guy Neocortex's base, and it's this really scary thing where there's, in the original game, it was really dark, hard to see, and there were a lot of like large TV screens with just Neocortex's face sort of coming like in and out, and it was really creepy. Now with the sort of cartoonish graphics and the better visibility, it like just looked a little stupid, a little silly.
Yeah, but again, this is a game about, first off, a Bandicoot, which isn't even a real animal.
Yeah.
About
I
fighting a
think
guy
it's
with a giant
real
yellow head.
animal.
Bandicoot?
I think a Bandicoot exists, yeah. It's just like more exotic or something.
I have never heard of a Bandicoot in my life. If it's real,
It's
tell
real.
me in the comments and I'll admit it. I'll eat my own words next week. But
I'm pretty sure it's
or
real.
on Twitter.
Hold on. Keep going. I'll pull it up.
But I do understand what you're saying, particularly about, lighting, because it feels like remasters and lighting have kind of a mixed history. Because I picked up the Master Chief Collection as my first game on
That's a
Xbox One.
Bandicoot.
Oh my God, they exist.
Yeah.
I'm questioning so much right now.
Did I just break you?
A little bit. Can we please, in post, just somewhere around here, put the picture of the Bandicoot, because it's real. For those of you who, it's real.
Write down the timestamp for me, and I'll put it in.
I am writing down a timestamp because that exists.
We're professional. Yeah, but the low contrast is it just feels in a lot of the stages like the contrast has been just pulled down. The black areas aren't black; they're sort of like grayish. You know what I'm saying? And that bothers me a little bit because there's a certain sheen that the old games had that the remaster is missing. The biggest problem I have with the graphics is the human models are so creepy. The engine, especially, who's like a mad dwarf scientist, he looks like a PS2 model. It looks really bad. But he's just one of the many bosses. All the other bosses and the characters look really better. The biggest improvements on the graphics is depth perception and how characters signal moves much better. So, for example, there's a guy with a flamethrower in some levels. And in the past, he would just sort of shoot forward. And you were like, I don't know where his flamethrower ends, and I won't get damaged. But now, there's a little fire effect on the floor.
Oh, perfect.
So you'll see exactly where the tile ends, where he can damage you. Or, so things like that are really good. Crash's shadow is much more detailed, so you can hit jumps better, because you can see where he'll land. Stuff like that, which is really, really useful. There's still a little bit of problem with the depth perception because it's a 20-year-old game and they didn't change up the design because they wanted to stay true to the original. But, you know,
that was a bit of a flaw that I encountered as well in my very brief time with Crash 2.
Yeah, like...
I was like, I think I'm going here. Oh, no, I'm going over that way. All right,
yeah,
I'm dead.
Yeah,
Next
so
life.
that happened. So that's the thing. I think the one problem I had gameplay-wise with the graphics was some of the animations you have to wait for. So, for example, in the second game, you can crouch and jump to get a higher jump. But let's say, like, you have to wait for the animation to sort of complete. So if you fall down and then you try to slide, it, like, takes a half a second. Or if you pick up a life, it will take maybe a half a second for it to register and for that life to get picked up, which wasn't in the original at all. So that's a little frustrating. Anyway, those are the graphics. Overall, I do think it looks great.
Of course, it's a remaster. What did you say, 20 years later?
Yeah, 20 years.
Of course it's going to look great.
It looks great. And I mean, you know, newer games sometimes can be shoo-ins. Like, I remember when Wrath of Cortex came out, it looked worse than the third game. It was really
And
rough.
we don't talk about Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. We don't talk about that game.
Yeah, that one is especially sad because you can see...
You can see the good ideas.
You can see the ruins of the great game that it could have been inside, like, the game.
And then...
like in the background and
we got
stuff.
what we got.
That was rough. So that's the graphics. I'm gonna move on to the gameplay. So I'm in like a small group, maybe 1% of the player base who has still played the original games every once in a while. So like I've already mentioned, modern controls were hard to get used to. There was one level in the first game. It was a bridge level. Took me 42 lives to get through it.
Well, in the remaster?
In the remaster.
Oh.
Because I was so used to the old controls, and the jumps in that level are so precise because you have bridges of planks of wood, some of which are one plank. And you have to jump them. And I kept missing my jumps because I wasn't used to it. The D-pad is much more sensitive in the remaster. A little tap on the D-pad makes Crash move much further than in the originals. So that kept messing me up too.
Because now he's got his whole walk cycle animation.
Yeah, well, yeah, that, and just in general, the controls give you more precision. So I was used to letting go after a while because the animation would complete because the controls are more stiff. And Now it couldn't do that because they were more precise and I would fall off early. So that happened a bunch. A good sort of point of comparison, I think now would be if you love Mario 64, if that's top 5 games of all time and you play that excessively, I wonder if you'll have similar troubles with Odyssey.
I don't know about that because, for one thing, Nintendo doesn't really invest much in remakes and remasters. And
Right.
while Odyssey will definitely have some things in common with Mario 64, I don't think it'll have so much in common to be, a thing worth
I think it would be
that
like,
comparison.
imagine if there were no Marios between Mario 64 and Odyssey. And
Nope, can't do it.
I know it's hard to imagine, but like that jump from Mario 64 controls to Odyssey controls would be a big jumps because all those steps in the middle are now gone. So it's more of a shift to get used to for people who love and play the old game all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a little bit. I just with Nintendo, especially and the Mario series, especially, it tends to just throw new ideas at the wall. Whereas
Absolutely.
this is a remaster. This is an old game given a fresh coat of paint and some new stylings, new mechanics to make it more available for the modern day audience. I don't see I see where you're going with the comparison. I just think that there
Maybe
could definitely be more fitting ones. I think Sony is
Maybe
great
Shadow
for mining.
would be a better comparison.
Shadow, God of War.
God of War is so different that I think it will be enough for people's brains to separate it. I think Shadow might be a point of contention where the new Shadow of Colossus might be tough for people who play the old PS3 game all the time. That might be a more similar thing, or
Or even the original PS2 game.
yeah,
Jeez, I wonder what the remake, what the reaction was when the remaster released back in what,
the
07?
PS3 one.
Yeah. 2010, something like that?
I don't remember. I wasn't following the industry in 07.
Oh, none of us were. We just wanted to play games.
Yeah, we were just little kids running around with our little feet.
And controllers.
Yeah, with our little feet and jumping.
I'm so captivated by these pictures of Bandicoot.
So the thing I want to say for people like me that are maybe having trouble with the new game is play as Coco. So you can play as Coco through all the 3 games for most of the levels. I mean, maybe 70% of them. And that sort of creates a mental separation of it because that's a new character that wasn't allowed in the old games except for the 3rd one. So that helped me transition up a lot. Helped my brain sort of separate the controls. And the last thing I'll say is, and I've already touched on this, is because the hitboxes are smoother and the edges of the enemies are smoother, I would fall off the edge of an enemy all the time. Because, and you've seen this in some of the levels, the jumps are very, very precise.
They are excessively precise.
You have to jump off the edge so much that like your character is at least partially in the air.
Yeah.
By the time you jump. So it's a tough game. But last night when I finished it, there was this like we've been talking about with Fury. There was a click last night where I got used to the controls and it was magic.
You got it.
It was magic. Once you get used to that game, and it took me the entire game to do it, it was wonderful. I like wish that I could replay the game from scratch now.
Yeah, but that's part of the thing about clicking
Yeah.
it. Once you get to that point, you can't go back and do it again.
Right. So I think I'll have a lot more fun trying to platinum the games than actually beating it, which I'm really excited for now. The one thing I want to say is the music is on fire in this game.
Oh yeah, music's
It's
great.
So awesome.
Love the music.
I mean, there are some levels that I like looked up on Spotify. And I was like, I want to just play this music. But some of the animations are also really cool. Like if you play as so I don't know if you noticed in your thing, but if you leave Crash idle, he'll do some fun stuff. So if you leave Crash idle, he'll pull up a yo-yo and start like throwing it around.
That's fun.
That was in the original game, but with Coco, and this I thought was an awesome touch, and I actually chuckled. If you leave Coco on idle, she'll pull out her phone and start like taking photos.
Okay, that's that's nice. Good way to address the times.
And then the fun part also is that as she's taking photos, her phone sits on fire, so she chucks it and it explodes. And I was like,
God.
I was like, is this a low key Samsung dig?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Dark, but I like it.
That was really, really fun. I really enjoyed that. So that was really great. So I think overall, in the end, if you haven't played Crash in years or haven't played him at all, I think you might have fun. Especially if you play the original games but you haven't played Crash in years, pick this up. Absolutely pick this up. If you play the games a lot, like I do, the original ones, expect to get a little frustrated. Be patient, because I thought I would breeze through this game because of my experience, and then when it was tough for me, I got frustrated, which soured the experience for me. So set your expectations for that, and I think you'll have a much better time playing through it than I did. But I would recommend this game to anyone. I think in the end, it's really well done, and I think we need to prove to developers that quality remasters matter and that they sell. That they sell.
I think they know. After Halo, yeah. I think people know.
And I think Crash is selling pretty well.
Oh yeah,
like it's been sold out.
Well, people missed the Crash games. It's not like Halo where you had a couple of things here and there between them after the end of the original trilogy and the first remaster. Mm-hmm. No, you have had nothing since, or anything of note at least, since Crash 3.
And the games that came out were treating it very poorly. Yeah. There are some games that were okay, but for the most part, Crash has been mishandled for 20 years.
Like I said, nothing of note.
And so it just feels good
to come back,
because it is evident in every inch of this game how much Vicarious Visions cares and how much they were like, we have to nail this. Yeah. We have to. Now more. So I hope Spyro's coming.
Me too.
I'm ready.
I want some more Spyro.
I think it's time. I want
a Spyro remake with Rockstar gameplay.
Alrighty. Now that you've heard me gush for Crash about 20 minutes, I hope that wasn't too unbearable to listen to.
I had a good time.
We got some releases.
We got a lot of releases, but we chose, because of lateness and time and wanting to let Chris get in all his gushing, we chose a couple of notable releases almost exclusively for how their titles sound. And, well, okay, there's one that has actual merit, but the rest of them, it's just for titles. Mm-hmm. So, for the week of July 2nd through 8th, 2017, the 5 titles that we're going to be looking at today are, first up and foremost, Redneck Rampage Possum Bayou. I can't believe I just said those words.
And honestly, this game just has a great title. That's all it took.
The only reason.
That's all
the only reason we picked it.
I'm hoping I can find some sort of description, but
nope, not a thing. It's a game from 1997, and now it's coming to the PC and the Mac on Monday the 3rd.
The cover art
looks really silly.
It's just two 90s graphics looking dudes exploring like a cave or something.
No, they're exploring a bayou.
Yeah.
The bayou. Go get that gator in the bayou.
And that is on Monday, right?
Yeah, yep, Monday the 3rd.
Cool.
All right, next notable release. And this is actually comes back to a story we talked about. I believe, was it our first episode?
I don't remember anymore.
Well, one of our original stories that we talked about was the standalone release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, and now it's happening. Mm-hmm. This Tuesday, on America Day, Tuesday, July 4th, Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered is getting its own standalone release. With all of its microtransactions, all of the DLC, but you have to pay for it, and of course the season pass, because why wouldn't you do that?
There's not
Activision?
all of the DLC though.
Fuck you.
Map pack is not included.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's all behind a paywall.
All right. It just I don't. Maybe that was just to me, but to me it sounded like you were saying that the DLC is bundled in. It's not.
No, it's not.
The map pack is a separate
not what I was trying
transaction.
To say at all. It's all behind. You gotta chill out more money.
What bothers me is that I hope nobody buys this, but I know a lot of people are going to buy it.
People are absolutely going to buy it because it's Modern Warfare. It's the original Modern Warfare. People love that game to death.
And I think it's like $40. Which is honestly,
I'm gonna knock you out, man.
Just spend those $40 on Crash.
Spend it on anything else.
Please.
Spend it on Fury. Spend it on Titanfall 2. Spend it on anything but this. I love this game, but you know what?
Please.
You cannot give Activision the incentive to keep re-releasing its games with all of that money shilling attached to it. No, you can't do that.
Because here's the thing.
Please don't do that.
Here's the thing. If you don't buy it, they're going to reduce the price real quick.
Then you buy it.
And then buy it. And then as you leave the store, say, suckers.
Suckers.
All right, we got to move on.
All right, so that's Tuesday. Wednesday, July 5th, we have LEGO Worlds Classic Space. So this is a very interesting one that Chris picked up. Well, didn't actually pick up, but he saw. I'm a bit more hesitant about it, and we'll go to why once we read the description. As soon as it loads.
I don't know where the description is on the GameSpot site.
God damn you, GameSpot. Just get your shit together.
All right, hold on. We'll just read the little blurb that's on the list. Go for it.
In LEGO Worlds, players have the freedom to alter procedurally generated worlds and create anything they can imagine one brick at a time, or use prefabricated structures to customize their ... Because GameSpot doesn't know how to do descriptions.
Yeah.
I immediately get up, red flag warning bells at procedurally generated worlds, because
but the interesting thing is it's Lego.
It's Lego, but I also don't want it to be Minecraft.
I mean,
which is what it sounds like.
It depends on how procedurally generated. To me, procedurally generated sounds like Spelunky style stuff, where it's like, oh, you have a set blueprint and then it just fills in the blanks with procedural generation.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
The interesting thing, the thing that I've kind of honestly always wanted is and this again comes to my personal preferences. I've always wanted a build whatever Lego game where your buildings actually matter. It's not just, oh, hold the circle button and watch the figurine magically put it together. Yeah, exactly.
Just like that.
So this is really interesting to me, and I wonder how it will pan out.
Hopefully well.
Yep.
So that's the release for Wednesday, July 5th. On Thursday, the 6th, we actually have a Nintendo game.
You just passed it.
Oh, I passed it? God, I wish I could.
It's the first thing on the day. Oh my God, GameSpot, your code is broken.
Here it is. Kirby's Blowout Blast, releasing for the 3DS.
It's
Kirby.
I understand why they're still releasing stuff on the 3DS, but with the Switch game for Kirby, it's like, just save your money and wait for
the Switch game, because that's the one you want.
Unless you can't afford the Switch or can't find it, which are actually pretty legitimate reasons to get this game.
Yeah, if you can find a Switch, go get it. It's fun. I'm going to get a Switch as soon as I can, as soon as I have money.
Yeah, I'm very happy with my Switch, although I do still, there's nothing really that I want to buy on it right now. And apparently, I heard that there are some games that are invading the Switch eShop that are looking like just I don't want to say outright asset flips, but they are terrible games to make a quick buck.
Yeah. So basically, asset flips, just not with the asset flipping.
Yeah, it's concerning because let me try to say words in a better way than I just did. It's gonna be interesting seeing how Nintendo handles the situation if it starts to become similar to what PlayStation is dealing with some games trying to break into the store.
Probably better than Sony or Valve, because Nintendo has a thing called quality control, and they know how to use it, and they know how to do it without alienating their player base.
Yeah, but if this happens on a bigger scale that they can do with human oversight, how are they going to teach software to recognize these games? That's the interesting question to me.
I would love to see them do it. If anybody can do it, it's Nintendo.
Yeah, because even YouTube is like, how do we train a thing to differentiate between an actual terrorist video and a news story that talks about said video?
You don't.
It's really difficult. So that, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. The next game.
The final game. I can't believe we're about to say this. All right. Fidget spinner on PC.
So here's the thing. There's nothing about this game. There's no description. And the cover art is just 3 cutout fidget spinners in real life with a teal neon background and text that says fidget spinners. So it might as well say nothing. But I think it's hilarious that this exists, because here's when I knew something was wrong with the App Store. Top 10 downloaded apps. One among them was an app called Fidget Spinner, where on your phone you could spin a virtual fidget spinner.
What is my life?
And I can't believe the people were downloading this in mass. It's like, I understand the teenagers that just want to get in on a stupid trend, but can't convince their parents to buy them a fidget spinner. By the way, good for you, parents. But it was like probably top 5.
I'm leaving. I'm going home.
And wait, no, Connor, come back. I can't do this without you. Oh no, Connor left.
No, actually.
No, he's back.
I'm back. You just
needed to take a breath, because the
disappointment.
This is unbelievable. It's coming on Linux as well. I just, coming July 7th, I'm really looking forward to looking at YouTube videos of this game and seeing how terrible it is. This
2 million views. Markiplier plays fidget spinner. It's happening.
Oh my god, YouTube will be broken by this video if this happens. Alrighty, is that all the releases?
Mercifully, yes. Yes, it is.
Alrighty, now that we've gotten through that kerfuffle, is kerfuffle a word?
Yes, it's a word, and I think it's a perfectly apt one for this situation.
The lesson of today is go buy Crash and don't look at releases.
Not right now. Wait for the good months.
Yeah.
Wait for August to come around. Wait for September, October.
Yeah.
That's when the good stuff is coming. Right now, just hope for anything of quality. Maybe something will surprise you. I hope so. Mm-hmm. Maybe no. I wouldn't even say pick up Modern Warfare Remastered. Go find a list, and hopefully you find something that tickles your fancy. Right now, I'm just disappointed.
It's okay to wait. You don't have to buy every game.
No. And in a lot of cases, you really, really shouldn't.
And like, here's the other thing that, like, I've been trying to watch this for myself as well, is I buy a lot of games on Steam that are on sale for a couple bucks, and then I never even open them, and it's like, why am I doing this? I'm just throwing money into a garbage can and lighting it on fire. Anyway, we got to close out, because it is now 14 minutes past midnight. And I'm sure our neighbors want to murder us right now.
No, we're not that loud. We're good.
Yeah.
But we should probably call it a night.
Alrighty. So thank you so much for watching episode 5 of Button Mashers.
Yes,
we are really excited to keep the show evolving. If you have any notes, comments, suggestions, anything, leave a comment below and let us know what you'd like to see and how we suck.
Yeah,
if
we're
you
terrible.
feel like it. So I'm Chris,
I'm Connor.
and you can find us on Twitter. I am at the Vanilla Chris,
And I'm at Connor Aham. That's Hamme.
Right. And this again is Button Masters, a podcast where we talk about video game news and video games that are coming out that we absolutely love, except for this week, I guess.
And then we gush about the things that we love and rant about the things we don't love. Fucking fidget spinner.
Really? You can find this show on SoundCloud and on iTunes or whatever podcasting platform, and on YouTube. If you just look up Game of Dorks, we're on that channel. If you like these kinds of videos, then feel free to subscribe on Game of Dorks or on whatever podcasting device you like. Thank you so much for sticking out with this episode, even though it's a tad short. We do apologize.
It's fine. There's Crash to talk about, and people love Crash, but you don't have to watch anything else, really. Right now, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
So I want to go home.
Yeah, honestly, it's a sad week. It's a bit of a sad week. If it wasn't for Crash warming my heart, it'd be tough. Pick up Banished. $5.
Pick up Fury if you haven't. Fun game.
Alrighty, that's enough of us giving recommendations. Thank you so much for watching again. We will see you next week.
Stay beautiful, folks. Bye.